All right. This is episode 16 of Round Town Revolt. How are you doing tonight, Logan?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad. Life's been pretty chaotic. I'm running out of money. My house is falling apart. I think I've got a cavity. I
Life is fun like that,
don't know.
isn't it?
Pretty typical. I
Yeah,
think
right?
nothing unusual really. I think I'm getting ready to come into some loan money here soon. And then it's just a matter of figuring out which hole to throw it into. It's like cool, like
I know. And that's kind of, I don't know, man. That's kind of a big reason why I'm pro UBIs because I want to give people money. They like put money into shit, you know? I got things that I'd do if I had extra income, you know what I mean?
mhm.
So,
Yeah, I think most people would like. I haven't had a savings account that mattered for my entire adult life.
I haven't even tried. Why? Like, I want to try.
Right.
I really want to. I do want to, but it's just impossible.
It's like I've yet to break $500 for more than a week. Like, and then it's just like, okay, this is all gone now. And then you're constantly shuffling your debt around, like reconsolidating, and it's just like, man, I don't know, like
You're
there's
just in a
not
continuous cycle of debt. Like, and
there's
it kind
only
of dawned
so
on me
much
today, dude. I'm,
there's only so much like budget wizardry I can do. Well, have you tried setting a budget? I'm like, it doesn't do me any good when groceries are going to cost me $2,000 a month. Like,
yeah, no kidding, right?
even if I'm being smart, like, and sure, like sometimes like my wife is stupid with money, but it's like the thing is like one bad purchase on her part will set me back 30 years. So it's like, well, what even like if that's how brutal the mistakes are, what's even the point? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I've told my mom I could easily be homeless, like, and be okay with it at this point. And then she's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Just think about it. You wouldn't have to worry about paying for shit. So, you know, and then
the only thing you have to worry about is the stuff that makes immediate sense, like food and shelter.
yeah,
And then it's just like that's what your day is about. It's just securing those two things. Like, I really don't want to romanticize homelessness. No,
no, I don't either though.
that's like one of those things where it's like we're right here, and like homeless people are like just right there, just kissing. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like at any given. I mean, I think it's part of the reason why like I tend to be so compassionate. It's because I know that like I'm, you know,
You
if an
know what it could
accident
be like,
happens,
and you know you're one medical bill away from
yeah,
being there.
like if something happens and I can't keep working, like me and my family are screwed. Like
Mhm.
immediately. There's no real safety net. Like,
Um, so I have an announcement. I declared for write-in for state representative for Ohio
ooh,
12.
Dark Briner.
Dark Briner mode, yeah, right? Yep. So I declared mainly like after Roe was overturned. And then, like the main reason for that was because our heartbeat bill went into place, and I'm fairly certain that uh, Brian Stewart's fairly conservative in that he wants to take it further if he can. So yeah, I'm gonna try to contest against that because I do kind of think that there's a compromise at 24 weeks and then life of the mother after that, you know? So, and that's not single issue, but that's like the primary thing that I would like to is the motivation. I'm kind of tired of religious based laws.
We don't even get the good religious based laws.
No, like we could do Jubilee and be like debt free
Like
for
Jubilee, like
everybody.
Jubilee would be dope. What's the what's the Muslim charity law?
I'm not even
Where like it's like
sure.
a fifth of your income has to go. Like Like, a fifth of your income basically belongs to God. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't even get the good laws. Like, it's always just like, yeah. I'm fairly certain, like, if we founded a religion to where, like, it was like, oh, we have to, like, beat, like, trans people to death as part of our initiation rituals, like, that would get approved. Like, that would skate. But, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so frustrating.
Oh
'Cause it's just
man.
like, all these people, like, it's just like, especially, like, when it comes to, like, like, gay marriage is the perfect thing. They're just like, "Well, you can't, like, get gay married in my religion." I'm like, Don't, like, just put a sign up outside your church, like, no gay weddings, it's fine." Like, you know what I mean? Like, most people just won't go to that church.
Yeah. In other news, earlier in August, JD Vance came to Pickaway County to stump as a political campaign.
Fucking, I wish California would just take that fucker back. Like, we got rid of him. Ohio
That's
purged
the
him.
downside of trying to make Ohio the new Silicon Valley, man. We're gonna have these fuckers here. These
Fucker
venture
come back.
capitalist
It's just
assholes.
like, we tried to feed you to Hollywood. Why did you come back? Like,
I'm sorry.
oh,
our
you couldn't hack
relatives are
it.
coming
Like,
back.
that's why. Oh, piece of shit. Pretending like he's a fucking hillbilly because he comes from
Well,
like Toledo or some shit.
so that's the thing. He came here to talk about like different things with farmers, and a local dairy farmer asked him how he'd address the shortage of farm workers and if they could relax things to make you
Yeah,
know.
anyone that actually does the work is like, look, man, I need sub minimum wage fruit pickers out in this bitch.
Well, this is dairy farmers. This is
Yeah.
specifically for dairy farmers. And Vance wants to implement a immigration system based on like education merit. Like highly educated people
What
would
the
be
fuck are you
granted
gonna
access.
like? What kind of fucking master's degree motherfucker from south of the border is gonna want to come up here and fucking pick strawberries or milk cows?
That's exactly what the guy said. The local farmer, who is an immigrant himself, said like you're not gonna get a educated dairy
I
farmer.
knew this was happening because last year we did an episode on it where they did a fucking crackdown on a meat packaging plant, like out of like Akron or something, some shit like that. Like last year of Donald Trump's presidency, they like rounded up a whole bunch of like they were probably illegal immigrants. They
Well, that's
rounded
what
up
they
a whole
do. They just come up and round up the illegal immigrants, ship them back off, get a new batch, ship them off every time they don't want to pay them
okay,
again.
cool. We're gonna have a shortage of workers in a year. Fucking
So the thing that Vance wanted to push is Vance is very pro Raise Act, which is shit in my opinion. I don't know much about it, but it's
I
shit.
mean, if it's right wing legislation,
Well, it's like far right wing legislation, so you just know it's shit. But there is another bill that's been out there for a while, and I think we had it for a little bit, and that was the Farm Worker Modernization Act. And there are farmers that, like yesterday, there's an article saying that farmers want the U.S. Senate to pass this Farm Workers Modernization Act, and it's had bipartisan support before. It makes it easier for immigrants to come in and work at farms.
Well, do you want to know what we used to do?
Well, I mean, give me a second here. And there is actually a study out there that, heaven forbid, when we allow more workers to come into the country, that inflation rates go down. Like it actually lowers inflation.
Yeah, it's pulling the because the way that these people think inflation works is that there's more like if there's more money just floating around, then like inflation happens, which sometimes, yeah, that is one of the main drivers. There's a lot of other factors, but if you have a foreign populace in there that is literally just siphoning money away, then yeah, that's going to drive inflation down. because none of the money is like sitting. You know what I mean? It's immediately just going off somewhere else, fucking some other economy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, fucking. It's not like we're going to increase taxes on rich people. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we're going to remove. Like, Smaug is up there in the mountain with just a giant pile of gold, but we're not going to get rid of that. So you fuck it. Like, um, but it used to be like if people, because I remember like when we first started doing these immigration crackdowns when I was in like kindergarten or something. Like we used to just let people like if people didn't commit a crime, then we didn't give a shit. Like they could just come up, they could work, they would do the seasonal work and then like they would go home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Like and it was like it was fine. Like nobody and then like it even made things easier because like those people weren't scared. So like if cartel shit was going down, like the immigrants would work with the police to like it was like, yeah, this guy's bad news. Fuck, please get rid of him.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a video out there. I don't know who the guy is, but it's a Gravel Institute video that talks about border.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, the border wall created the need for coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and all this stuff.
Yeah, and who's good at that? Like who's good at sneaking across borders?
Yeah. So I really just wanted to bring up that I've really found it funny that like we really did have the Republican Party has the elitist come to town. The guy that went to a Yale or Ivy League school,
Uh-huh.
he came to town and knew more than the local farmers did. And then you're still probably going to have local Republicans vote for JD Vance because it's not socialist Tim
Well,
Ryan.
I don't know. I don't understand how, and I should because these are my people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a dipshit, but like, I don't get how these people can look at someone like Trump, look at someone like JD Vance, look at someone like DeSantis, look at someone like Ted Cruz, and be like, yeah, that's my brother up there. We're the same.
Cult of personality, dude. Cult of personality. They are masters of othering. Well, we'll get to this here we're going to bring up good segue into the Dark Brandon speech.
Oh boy.
So the othering and demonization. Biden's speech was like kind of meant to unite the country against was it Ultra MAGA? It's been called Dark MAGA. It's openly fascist. They gave them shit for calling it semi-fascist.
Mm-hmm.
Ultra MAGA is pretty fascist. Just gonna be honest and out there with it. I mean, it's kind of like the Candace Owens, like Hitler did nothing wrong with because he didn't want to go global or whatever type shit. You've been in the politics scene longer, so you probably know what that is, right?
I think that's one of those things I've heard before because, like, that was like the
It's
Candace
an old thing, yeah.
Like, yeah. So she's like, look, the problem with Hitler wasn't like the Holocaust, it's that he wanted to be global. And it was just like, what? Like, yeah, everybody was like, what are you talking about?
But it's like one of those clips, like everybody's like, you're taking it out of context. You're not
Like,
giving her, what is it? You're not giving her a good faith interpretation of it.
and the thing is in that circle, a globalist is just a code word for a Jew.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like, what? Like, it's just stupidity trying to masquerade as like academic.
Well, I mean, it's the same shit as always, dude. Is it not Marx that said history repeats but dumber, basically?
I don't think so.
I thought it was.
It was it like first as something, second like as farce.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was. Not dumber, but
First as tragedy, then as farce. It was Karl Marx who said that, yeah.
yeah. Motherfucker's right, dude. A lot of shit.
I think he might have been talking about like he was talking about like the like French like new Napoleon bullshit. He was just like, they're gonna try it again, but this time they're gonna use it like an idiot. Like at least Napoleon had like a level of like military like ability. Like this new guy's a fucking moron.
So with the Dark Brandon speech,
Okay, we gotta talk about the iconography.
All right, we'll
I don't know what like you said that like the actual scene was better, but my dude was looking like the leader of the Brotherhood of Nod. Like you know, we had the like because I watched the NBC like ABC like CNN cuts, so it was like a frame about like this and just red light behind him and then like two soldiers. It was just like what the fuck? Like my dude looks. I thought it was a good speech, all things considered.
It was a good speech. I just dropped an image in there. It like really fucked it up, but in the document, you can see where it has
shooting for like a red, white, and blue thing.
Yeah,
but all of the news stations like zoomed in.
They hyper focused on the front, and it just
red brick.
So everybody's like, Biden is trying to call the Democrats fascist, and he's got this background. He's pedo Hitler.
I will make you see the future while you still have human eyes.
This is some Galactic Empire stuff. And I'm like, all right, if it's the Galactic Empire, Dark Brandon mode, engage.
Engage. I mean, he was much sharper than he has been for the last few days. Like, you know, they got him
say it how you did when you're listening to it.
They got him on the good adrenochrome right now. They gave him that top shelf. That top shelf baby blood.
But like his comment with the semi-fascist earlier in the week, I knew what was going to happen. I knew he was going to give like I think it's tepid speech.
It was limp dick all the way through.
I won't even say it's limp dick. It was predictable, and you knew it was going to be liberal as fuck.
Every other word. He's like, not all Republicans, not all Republicans, not all Republican. Like, you know what I mean?
It's the not all fallacy shit. Like, not all men are rapists, not all.
Giving everybody an out, like giving them the lollipop, and you know what's going to happen.
Biden's trying to start a civil war because he's being divisive.
Every next day, they're like, Joe Biden wants to give the communists guns so he can turn your son into a woman and shoot you because you're white. Just like I hate these people, and I hate how much it works.
Tucker Carlson saying Taylor and Lorenz is the Che Guevara of the Biden administration.
Who even is this person that they were all?
Do you seriously not? Genuine question. Do you know who Taylor Lorenz is? Yeah, see, it's a culture war shit, and that's where like Biden's speech even was like, where he has it? I have it here. That's where we need to focus our energy, not in the past, not on divisive culture wars, not on the politics of grievance, but on a future we can build together. And it's like perfect. Like
it's just a dipshit. Like she was like a tech reporter for WAPO. Like she's like a Kotaku dork journalist. Like what on earth is he talking about?
So the main thing is that she's anti-libs. It's getting into the libs of TikTok culture war shit against the trans agenda, and how she'll report against libs of TikTok, and how libs of TikTok has basically got bomb threats called into the Boston Children's Hospital. Don't you love the level of stochastic terrorism that comes from the right, and then they try to point fingers at the left and act like, how dare you call us fascists?
It's like I hate it. Like it's so annoying.
It's a fucking joke, dude. It's a joke. It's like how? You know? You're broken brain at this point.
I wish CNN had a little bit more of the stones. Like it's that same thing where like people pretend, like when people were pretending like the political leaders that we all sort of galvanized around were way cooler than they were. Like, do you know what I mean? Where it's just like, I'm sorry, but this is all like that we've all like compromised and we've all basically like selected some like guy that boils down to like a middle manager from Costco and it's just like, yeah, here we are, like, and like as soon as you like dude walks forward and is like, hey, you need to just let trans people exist, and then like the whitosphere is just like they want to kill your babies. And it's just like I now here is where it's more interesting because he was willing to sort of like take a few tepid shots at the GOP. It was like, hey, they're kind of fascist. And here's the thing. If you think that the GOP is fascist, in truth, like if that's a one-to-one connection that you're willing to make, you have to also be willing to say that you're willing to ban that party from public. Like, you just have to ban the party because that's the only thing that works.
But I feel like he's saying he's worked with mainstream Republicans, and I've seen people comment that he's really not worked with mainstream Republicans since 2008.
Yeah, like he fucking
and I don't really know. He could. I don't. There is a possibility he could work with some moderate Republicans out there and mainstream Republicans that are never Trumpers.
Like, there's no such thing as a moderate Republican.
But dude, so there are a few like some like Dolan
and fascists in suits. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but it's just, that's the state of the party right now. They're wing nuts. They only care about power. Like, it's what they've been doing for the past 20 years is consolidate power. They've just been doing it within the system. And, like, you know, they were, like, every wing nut we have right now that that people like Mitch McConnell don't like are all people that he's created, that he made room for. Like, these are all the direct results of the shit they did. And, like, I guess the fault of the Democrats is, like, they didn't try hard enough to stop it. Which, okay, sure, yeah, I'll give you that. But, like, you know what I mean? It's just like that's like saying that the Holocaust is the Jews' fault because they didn't fight hard enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really weird. Like, most people don't actually think that, like, there were a few people that, like, were trying to say that Trump was the Democrats' fault because of some kind of weird, like, mental, like, psyop that, like, fortunately that never took off because
dude.
That one was even too stupid for the QAnon crowd. Like, to where it's just like, no, Joe Brandon did not hand select Donald Trump and be like, you will make these people look bad.
Fuck Joe Brandon's being divisive.
Joe Brandon. Ugh.
But no, I seriously love how he's like, he literally says in his speech, now I want to be very clear up front, not every Republican, even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. And
just the most tepid.
And literally everybody's like flipping out, like, he's so divisive. But I wanted to say with that, Donald Trump came to my hometown in Circleville in 2020, and he was saying, like, brought up socialist, communist, Marxist, left-wing extremist, Antifa, the radical left Democrats. And I'm like, how is he divisive? How's Sleepy Joe that's awakened on adrenochrome in one speech? Like, you know, Sleepy Joe woke up for that one speech, Logan.
That's like, you remember when I tell you that we don't actually have a left and a right wing party. We just
we have two. Like, we have the same bird of.
We have a heel and a face that serves capital.
Yeah,
and like that's it. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, nobody that does not serve the interests of business is ever going to be president.
Well, so our whole idea of this podcast is the unity thing, which is kind of the whole thing behind the speech, too. You know, Biden's speech was about unity against fascism. And that's kind of where we're at. Like, and even you and I disagree on politics with some things because you're, an open commie.
Yeah.
And I'm openly an anti-fascist, and you know how that goes. I'm against like all forms of the totalitarian type governments, but we both recognize like the nuances of politics and shit. I don't know how you explain it, but you know
and
what
I
I
are
mean?
both gonna get put on the wall if like fascists take
Yeah,
over.
exactly. We both know we're both in the boxcar together. If if shit goes the way it's going, we're both in that car.
I'm first into the furnace or third into the furnace, but I know that I'm somewhere in that line.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, like people that want to say like, "Oh, you're over exaggerating about fascism in America." Patriot Front was marching in Indy today. Now, these guys do travel to do these marches and stuff, so their numbers are probably pretty small. And then you've got the fact that right wing groups are really bad about letting feds in. So you figure about a quarter of them are probably feds too.
I'd say about a quarter.
I'm just going loose figures that you're figuring about a quarter. So, yeah. But they do exist. Man. And then I guess segue into I don't know how to segue into this next part, but I don't know how aware are you of the swatting with kiwi farms and stuff.
Vaguely, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, so
I remember when I said the solution for this is probably for us to just not
do swatting at all.
SWAT teams, and like all the pigs came out, and they were like, "No, it's an important tool. Like we need to have a like squad of 14 like just trained killers to like take down a petty drug dealer. We have to have that." It's like you're stupid. You're stupid pig. I hate you. And it's just, but like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, the problem is like, I mean, I was a little mean because I'm frustrated. But the real problem is that he is a cop, and they're trained to be scared.
Like, I mean, yeah, they really are. They're basically trained to be warrior cops, and that's like a thing that we could talk about in an episode later too.
Like a while back, they were all terrified that they were like,
dude, they're still. If you're gonna say the fentanyl thing, they're still terrified.
And it's just like you haven't been exposed to fentanyl.
They still do it, dude.
You're so scared that you're giving yourself panic attacks.
Exactly.
There are no drugs in your system. You have given yourself a panic attack. Calm the fuck down. And honestly, like it's why I would rather cops just not have guns.
Hey, so I got a hot take on this because I did follow the Keffel story.
Mm-hmm.
When Keffel was swatted, what ended up happening is they misgendered her, which happens a lot in instances with trans people and law enforcement. And it was almost to a point where it was like intentionally, like, you know what I mean, malicious.
You talking about the law enforcement like maliciously like misgendering her and shit?
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like they probably fucking celebrated her getting swatted in some circles of law enforcement, if we're just being honest. You know what I mean?
Like I've seen how cops react whenever like a civilian gets killed by like a SWAT team and then it's always just like, oh well. Like it's never like and at any point, and it's just like, and I've gotten in arguments with them. I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is that as soon as a police officer like comes within contact of any person, that person should just unload into them because it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And like that will just completely set them off. Like they will lose their fucking minds because the idea that they could be an acceptable an acceptable collateral damage is unfucking acceptable to them for some reason. But the idea that they could just blow through like a mailman because they want to catch a weed dealer is a-okay.
Or shoot a guy that is standing up, laying in his bed.
Yeah, with his kid or whoever.
No, this is what happened in Hilltop, Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio. Dude was getting up and like just pushing his body up, and the officer shot him. Like standing up out of bed, like raising yourself up. Had a vape pen. That's what they shot him for having. And it's like, I watched the video and I even feel like the officer that shot shouldn't have shot. He's a 30-year veteran with a positive record, which whatever. But and then of course the Friends of Police record went on the reports right away, and it was like there was a conflict in there. There wasn't a conflict. The guy was sitting up in his bed and he got shot. That's what the state of policing in America is, where you can get shot sitting up in your sleep. Like,
well, I think Bo of the Fifth Column was talking about how he used to train law enforcement officers. A while back, I was watching a video, and this was after I had already been personally victimized by police officers, so it wasn't like a big world ender for me, but he was talking about how the way that they're like putting people, like when you take them into custody and you like put them into like the backseat of a car, if you do it a certain way, like you could risk hitting someone's head and hurting them, and then you'd be liable. And like the cop's response was, "Well, we write the reports," and like everybody just kind of laughed at him. And Bo was just like, he said that he completely stopped training law enforcement after that point because he was just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, these people are bad." Like,
yeah, pretty much.
even if they go into it with the best of intentions, like you're going to become bad eventually just because that's what's incentivized. You know? There's a YouTube channel called That Dang Dad, and the guy that runs it, he used to be a police officer. And he was like, he quit, moved and like switched jobs. And then like he said that after about 4 or 5 years of not being a police officer anymore, like he kind of looked back and was like, "Oh my!" Like he's like a prison abolitionist now. He's like anti-cop. Like I don't know what happened, but he's like, yeah, when you get out of it, like when you're in it, you're just constantly getting barraged with the idea that like every grandma on the street wants to like knife you in the chest. You hear stories about a dude that had acid thrown in his face. It's just like it's the same as like the QAnon people and like the MAGA people, to where they're constantly being told that like random babies on the street are carrying like vials of acid
actually,
just all over their face. Like
that just reminded me of kind of like a theory that I used to have in the past, like how a lot of times police officers will see weapons and shit in people's hands. Like when you're in a high situation scenario, you're gonna have all that adrenaline and shit pumping through your brain.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like your perception's probably altered to some degree. You know what I mean?
100%. They've done studies on it.
So with your perception being altered, you may think they have a gun, but they don't. You know what I mean?
Or and you're terrified. So
because you are afraid. Now, I would be afraid in that situation too. Like I'm not gonna.
But you're also not a cop. Huh? You're also not a cop.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also not a cop. I didn't sign up for this shit.
Yeah.
But I like how we ended up getting to hear from like the rating thing. But with the whole like the point I was trying to make there was like how I feel like, or way back when, was I feel like the police kind of sided with, or like law enforcement people kind of side with anti-trans, or the anti-trans crowd a bit.
I think it's just loose association with the right in general. Like, it's an authoritarian institution. You're going to kind of err on the side of conservatism. And like if you lean left, it's not like you want to go into a job where you're beating up people. There has also, it does need to be said that there has been a concerted effort on the part of hate groups and like white ethno-state groups to specifically infiltrate police officer organizations, the military. They do. That is real. That's not like a crazy lefty thing. That's like David Duke wants more KKK cops and is trying to make it happen.
But no, like, so with the whole Kiwi Farms thing, Marjorie Taylor Greene ended up getting swatted too. And then her opponent released a statement saying like how he condemned it. And she's immediately releasing statements how like Democrats are trying to attack her by swatting her and stuff. And then it's amazing how that crowd immediately became pro censorship because she wanted Kiwi Farm shut down immediately. Well, after she got swatted, which is reasonable.
She's not going to try to stop swatting, is the thing. She's just going to try to stop like people that are after her from being able to swat. She still wants people to be able to swat people. She just wants to like they view it as a legitimate tactic. They just want to prevent their opposition from using it. And this is why the Dems are always going to lose, like always going to be like on the losing side, because like they do have like certain things that they just won't do that like the right is like, no, yeah, we can like murder people. You just have to get away with it. Like,
I don't know, dude. I feel like, well, I was going to say too, where she's also pro defund the FBI now, I really feel like here's our chance to kind of like inject left, like actual left policies into the Republican Party, which is kind of what I've always wanted to. I know they're not going to do it.
I would love to shoot for it, and I would love for them to start defunding the FBI. But the problem is if they defund the FBI, what they're going to do is they're going to get rid of everything about the FBI except for the parts of the FBI that assassinate civil rights leaders. Like that's
that's true too. I get that. Like in the parts of the FBI that are like investigating the ethno-state people in the thing.
They're like,
and look. Plus, actually, my stance on the FBI is also complicated now too because of like we do have other countries that are interfering in our shit, you know, but we also interfere in theirs. So like, let's not play like that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how to solve that problem because we do need. Like, you need an intelligence apparatus. Like, you need a federal level.
And you need it to.
Something like the FBI would be great if policing wasn't such a broken mess in this country.
Yeah. But also, like, you need the FBI to go after, like, child predators and shit like that.
They don't.
No, they do. They do. They do. They do. They're better than QAnon. I'd rather have them than QAnon.
They are more effective at it than QAnon. But it feels like they create just as many as they catch.
The chances are they probably do.
So it's kind of a, like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, what is this doing for us then? Like,
but I do want to say, I'm pretty sure that Ohio Republicans have criminalized swatting in Ohio because there have been a couple instances where Ohio people have swatted others.
Well, and yeah, like the way state level and local level stuff works, it's an entirely different beast because like the people that care and actually vote at like state level stuff are like weird. They're weird people. So like you've got to have a little bit more chops because they'll be like, "Oh, you voted for this thing, like you're done." Versus like people that only vote for like, you know, like national level stuff, like they don't know shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like they don't. Which that's the reverse of how it should be. Like you should vote. Like if you're going to ignore an election, like ignore the federal level stuff because that like ultimately like you don't have that much power there. But like on a local level and like on a state level, like yeah, your vote actually matters.
And most
Like,
people don't. Well, that's I think a lot of argument people have is that people don't know who their state rep is.
yeah,
Like a lot of times.
like I have voted like blue for my like senator and my like house rep since I've been an adult, and we've never had a blue senator house rep in my area. Like
No. And then
ever.
if you try to
So,
reach out to your red senator or
yeah,
red rep,
you
they just give you
yeah.
whataboutism back, and
Fuck you,
then
I don't care. Like,
and then they ask, but why don't you contact us ever? You should have reached out to us. It's like every time I try, you guys give me shit back. But Biden's the divisive one. Yeah, okay.
and this works both ways too.
Centrist born. Huh?
If we
Yeah,
live in right leaning, listen, look, if you're a right winger and you live in New York, your vote doesn't matter. If you're a right
exactly.
winger and you live in San Diego, your vote doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, gerrymandering sucks. I'm sorry. Like, I wish we didn't do it.
Well, that's the thing that, well, you guys have gerrymandering. And it's like, well, you bring up gerrymandering, and it's like, well, the Dems gerrymandered in Illinois. They outdid Kinzinger's district. And it's like, yeah, like Kinzinger was really going to win. Look at fucking Liz Cheney's district, dude.
The thing is if we get rid of gerrymandering, it would destroy the Republican Party.
It probably would, because the Republican Party has no policies. Well, look, ranked choice voting is destroying the Republican Party, and that's why they immediately want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because they can't adapt in that situation. Some can, like Charlie Baker, but others can't. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's just like, and that's the nature of being conservative. Like, it's always going to be a losing battle. Because it's just like you're fighting entropy and progress.
Pretty much.
Like, there's no, I'm sorry, but you can't just keep things the same forever. Just not how it works. Which is why we have the alt-right now. They're trying, rather than just trying to keep things the same forever, they're trying to, degenerate. They're trying to unprog. Well, I don't even know what you would call it.
We have the new right now too, with like dumbasses like JD Vance and Blake Masters.
Yeah.
We have elitists to tell us to not be
like all those guys are just like politically they're the same as Joe Biden. Like, at least before he became president. Like,
so my brother from another mother loves to point out how like Ted Cruz likes to talk a bunch of shit about Ivy League politicians and stuff. Motherfucker went to Ivy League himself too. It's the same shit with the new right people, dude. Venture capitalist.
The speech that John Brown gave before he died just burns in my heart. Where he's just like, I've labored against the wealthy, the elite, the so-called intelligent. I'm just like, yeah, fuck him up, John Brown. Like,
do you want to get into the 1-6 stuff?
Let's do it. Let's talk about. We are way behind on it because I don't remember when the last hearing was, but we sort of.
It's a long time ago, but there haven't been any more hearings since then, so we're pretty good there.
There was going to be another one in September.
I don't know if I think there is going to be more, maybe, but there hasn't been one yet. The report releases on the 6th, I think, if it still comes out. Like the text report.
Now, and I have some really interesting this is kind of insider like baseball-y shit, but from what I can tell, like sorry libs, but like Donald Trump not going to jail for a while.
At least not for this, but maybe for Mar-a-Lago shit. Like Mar-a-Lago shit's definitely
they can
worse.
actually get him on some treason shit, maybe. But the real purpose of the hearings, the investigation, because we can't ever the way our country works right now, the president has to be above the law, has to be. We can't actually hold the president accountable for anything, because if we do, this whole thing scatters like a house of cards. because like if we persecute Donald Trump for this, like we have to like set George Bush on fire. You know what I mean?
Well,
because he did genocides. Like,
so you're not wrong there, and I think some right wingers would definitely agree with you there too, because they say like the last 3 presidents have been crooks themselves. You know,
like there's no saving this. Like there's no like the reason why like everybody like hated Donald Trump is because he was personally gross. Like you know what I mean? Like he's a vulgar guy, and they didn't
yeah.
like that
He
was the
lowered
whole,
he lowered the prestige of the office of president, is what I
yeah
would say.
yeah, and the thing is like after Nixon, the whole thing was working overtime to try to like justify all the power that we had given to that seat.
No,
And like
as
that screaming man child took over, and everyone was like, "Well, this is fucked now." Like,
so I was gonna say, as somebody that like kind of tracked QAnon stuff and how like a lot of that was directed by Flynn and all these people that had psyops connections in the military, like I kind of have this like broken brain take on this. Like, um,
well, the real purpose of all of it is to just gum up the works. Is just make it so Donald Trump can't effectively run.
well, no, I agree on that, but I do think like Donald Trump is guilty of this shit. I do think Roger
Yeah.
Stone is guilty of trying to organize a coup. I do think that Michael Flynn and Trump's toadies like Kash Patel are definitely not worthy of the positions that they held, and that they would try to have a coup if given the opportunity and violate everything that this country is founded on, and they would very much violate the Enlightenment values and the the respect for the democratic process. I mean, they tried to interrupt it with extremists. They did. So like a big thing with that with me is though, like it's tied to dominionist Christianity, and I've always said I feel like a big tie that went through the January 6th too is the Christianity. Like I feel like Christians and conservative Christians, specifically white conservative Christians, have felt like they're losing a grip on the country. Because people like Raphael Warnock, that a pastor like Raphael Warnock's a radical Christian, therefore he's not a Christian, Or if you accept LGBT people, you're a Unitarian and you're the devil.
I've been sort of struggling with because I started rewatching classic Simpsons.
Yeah.
A while back, I'm up to like season 3, season 4 now. So these would have come out like in the 80s. So like, and on Fox. So you've got like back before they did news. But you've got like there has like Christianity has not been at least actual functional Christianity has not been a dominant cultural force, at least as far as our like shit that matters, since the 70s. Like it's all like it all got relegated to like these weird little like fiefdoms. So like if you go to the Bible Belt, like you have like small towns that can function like theocracies just through like this like the fact that you've got like normal small town like kind of there's sort of a tyrannical aspect to certain, especially like if the small town is very connected, like being ostracized from that community can be quite painful. So then if you double like sort of like weird Christian stress on top of that, it sort of like creates like this oppressive net over people.
But no, like, so I guess what I'm specifically saying is like these people that were rating in 1/6 though are like they're specifically fearing like that communism's taking over and like Joe Biden and the godless communists are coming.
That's just boomer bullshit.
And they're saving America from the godless commies.
I think it's just a sense of entitlement. Like it's just the ultimate Karen move.
I
Like, do you know
mean,
what I mean? Like they're just they're going to America's manager to like demand that they like validate their coupon.
it was, and somebody that we know basically said that they're like they're just coming to air their grievances to their state representatives. Yeah, buddy, that's why they're going to get wild.
Yeah.
You just went to the Grifter Supreme Fest.
And if we were going to do something about Donald Trump, it would have been right after that happened because all the stuffed shirts were scared. But they delayed it, now it's too late. The
Well,
machine's back
that
on.
was kind of their game plan, though. Like that was the Republican game plan, was to delay it so that would happen.
I mean, they've been at it for a long time, so they would know what they would need to do.
True. Anybody that's open eyes can see this shit too.
Like, I keep saying Mitch McConnell is the single most effective political leader that we have had in the last.
I argue him and Gingrich as well, but both of them are ghouls, so it's all good.
Yeah,
McConnell dumping a million.
Like, there's no.
McConnell dumping dark money into JD Vance's campaign because he's a shit candidate.
Yeah. Speaking of shit candidates, how's our boy out in Pennsylvania doing? I keep
Dr.
hearing.
Oz.
Yeah.
Oh boy, so he tried to go after John Fetterman. Like they've gotten a debate, so they're like trying to get after Fetterman for dodging the debate. Then Fetterman's like, well, it comes out that I guess Dr. Oz asked for like medical staff to be on standby for Fetterman. He also asked that like Fetterman be able to have bathroom breaks and shit. And it also asked that Fetterman staff be able to like he'd have a wire to his staff so that they could basically feed him information because he wouldn't be able to access his memory and stuff. Is essentially what he's getting at because he just had a stroke.
Yeah.
So it's like you're a doctor, and Fetterman immediately Fetterman's been really good about turning around attacks and just like flipping him back. So he's like, you're a doctor and you're attacking a recent stroke victim for this shit. And then I guess like immediately the day after though too, Dr. Oz was on an airplane flight, and then they're like bragging that he saved a 27-year-old. Like they do a call like, are there doctors on board?
Mm-hmm.
He like responded to it and saved the 27-year-old. But I guess he gave the kid Coke, like a Coca-Cola or something, like after he had a heart or something. It was something weird. I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to talk about it because
I don't care if he went to medical school. He's not a real doctor. He's a TV doctor.
Well, he sells magic pills, you know. So, and I love how he's like, I love how Dr. Oz is like that socialist Bernie Sanders, and then there's that clip of him playing basketball with Bernie. Like a few years ago. It's like, didn't hate him then, did you?
Dude, and there were like the thing that really annoys me is because Bernie never played to he never played the game. Because there are stories of him like literally like saving people's lives during the campaigns that he would run. Like people would be like he would like push people out of the way of like cars and shit. And like just never talk of like they would just never mention it. And he's just like, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna talk about the issues.
But like, yeah, I feel like it's not going too well for Dr. Oz.
I just fucking can't. Fetterman can't even talk, and Dr. Oz is still losing.
Fetterman can talk, dude. He's got this thing with I guess his campaign released a thing where he's got hearing issues, like in loud auditory environments, there's some issue. Mm-hmm. I don't know the details, but they immediately tried to attack him for that. And it was like, he wouldn't be qualified in the Senate because it would be too loud for him there. And somebody goes, I saw somebody on Twitter go, the Senate chamber is pretty quiet and orderly. I think he'd be okay. Like, there's not arguments and yelling.
Yeah.
Like,
and like, even then, like, he can have a fucking aide. Like, you know what I mean? Like someone that just reads to him. Like,
yeah. But I do think it was a low blow for Dr. Oz to like suggest that shit. Like,
Yeah,
maliciously.
that's pretty gauche.
Like he's trying to do like the dunking on Fetterman, like Fetterman dunks on him, but he's just bad at it. It's like, oh man,
I
do you
think
want to
that
talk about? Hey, do you want to talk about how the Rob Schneider and Glenn Beck real quick? That shit.
I do not know about it, but we can
Okay,
talk.
you didn't watch it, so but they're like, we're worried about the future for our children, and like Rob Schneider actually like started crying over this, like in this podcast interview with Glenn Beck, and they're like, the left becomes what they hate, and I'm like, but you guys do too. Like you're every bit as communist and like authoritarian. Like by the communist, I mean authoritarian. You know what I mean? Because that's their definition. But they're every bit as totalitarian as they're against. You know what I mean? And then when you point it out to them, they're like, "What's good for the goose is good for the gander," and shit like this. And I'm like, "There's no logical debating you then or reason." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I was trying to get at. I think we're probably at a good point to wrap up. So, got anything else to say, Logan?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Welcome back. Good luck on your campaign.
All right, thanks, man.